This episode of Bullet Heaven was made possible by Degica Games. In episode 131 of Bullet Heaven HD, we took a look at Shooting Love 2000X, a compilation of 4 games from the super under-the-radar Japanese publisher and developer Triangle Service on the North American Games on Demand service for Xbox 360. We came away satisfied with the simple yet fantastic games that Shooting Love 2000X featured. Now, Degica Games has begun a North American revival of sorts on Steam with the newly rebranded Shooting Love 20XX line, which will feature all 4 of the 2000X games as separate releases leading up to when all 4 can be purchased at once. But don't worry, buying them separately will still be the same cost as the bundle. Just make sure to get all those launch discounts. The first Shooting Love 20XX title released is the super cool Shmups Skill Test. Let's take a closer look. The Shmups Skill Test is an elegantly simple way to gauge a player's skill in a rapid-fire, randomly sequenced manner, similar to Nintendo's WarioWare series. Players take on specific objectives not only to get a high score, but also figure out their shooting age, with a minimum possible age of 16. The controls are extremely simple. 8-way movement and various single inputs make things nice and easy for any player taking on the challenge. While only very few objectives allow for rapid fire, with fast enough thumbs and fingers, even single-shot non-rapid style games can unleash a torrent of bullets. When the set is complete, the player's skills are applied to a matrix and their shooting age is determined. The mini-games in the Shmups Skill Test are all completely randomly chosen when the skill test begins, so no 2 games are really alike. Some have the player shooting everything that moves, while others have players try to pick up either certain items or as many as possible for the highest score in a given time. Others still test the dodging ability that players have through a stage filled with hazards and a really disorienting moving pattern. As more minigames are discovered, the main menu screen morphs and evolves, adding more and more panels to the collection. They can be taken on one at a time for either practice or score chasing via the online leaderboards. Nice! There are even 2-player test modes and a 4-player battle mode, which is extra neat, perfect for parties, meetups, or get-togethers. The short of the long of it is, the Shmups Skill Test is an elegantly simple game that really needs very little explanation and can be played practically forever, especially for high score chasers. Of course, there's also a certain level of honesty here too. If you have a turbo-style controller, all of the buttons can be jammed at once for an unholy amount of gunfire. And this, of course, would make the shooting challenges really easy, you cheater. Scoring in the Shmups Skill Test is extremely straightforward. Players accumulate points for successfully completing minigames, carefully performing certain tasks perfectly or within the time limit, and going as long as they can against unlimited enemy opposition. There's nothing in the way of a special multiplier here, just simple scoring that varies depending what minigame is playing. It's all balanced out enough that a player can get a high score no matter what minigames are encountered though, so even though its order and game selection is random every time, no one run is worse than others. It all boils down to player skill. Of course, the online leaderboards are a big draw to the Shmups Skill Test in general, but thankfully your gaming age doesn't affect your overall placement, just your score. The Shmups Skill Test is a pretty simple game, and its presentation is fairly simple as well. Low polygon visuals with sparse backgrounds make up the visual portion of the game, while some really bizarre music sets the stage with tunes that are, if nothing else, completely out of the ordinary. Unfortunately, the sweet menu music from Delta Zeal and 12 Zeal is gone. Bummer. Meanwhile, the sound effects are pretty much spot on for everything in play, with no effects in specific coming off as irritating or distracting. What is a little distracting though is how the visuals get super aliased when stretched and scaled, especially without smoothing enabled. Kind of a minor gripe though. Having everything fully localized is a pretty sweet deal for anyone that only had the original physical Japanese release, though Japanese is still a supported language for those that prefer the original text. Tate support is also a nice addition, though in today's day and age it's pretty much a feature that every 3 to 4 or 9 to 16 vertical shooting game requires. So, how does the Shmups Skill Test stack up? Let's take a look. For a game that tests players on their shooting ability, of course the controls would need to be perfect. In terms of challenge, the Shmups Skill Test isn't about being difficult or easy, it's about seeing how difficult or easy the game gets before it's too much for the player. The Shmups Skill Test can really be played forever, thanks to its random structure and vast score challenges, so length is pretty good. As the weakest part of the package, the Shmups Skill Test's visuals are dark, drab, and simple, but effective. The crazy soundtrack might have some players scratching their heads a bit, but it works in pretty great ways. This is one of the coolest shooting game concepts ever devised. There's really nothing else out there like this, and it's safe to say the only thing that could top it in terms of ingenuity is a new version with new challenges by Triangle Service themselves. The Shmups Skill Test is still just as fresh today as it was in Shooting Love 2000X and Gaisen Love plus Pengo on the Xbox 360. If somehow you've missed out, now is the perfect time to get your shooting love on. The Shmups Skill Test gets a 4.5 out of 5. Perhaps best of all, the Shmups Skill Test is available on Steam today for just $5 US. That's a fantastic deal. Buy it with confidence.